try to find them. Your first steps, that wobble, the hands reaching down to catch you. Your first word, and the face of whoever heard it. The first time you tasted something sweet. Your first birthday, candles, voices, someone lifting you up. Nothing. Not blurry, not faded, simply absent. A 3-year hole at the very beginning of you. And here's what makes it strange. Those weren't empty years. You were awake for thousands of hours. You learned to move, to understand voices, to trust a face. More happened to you in those 3 years than in most decades since. So where did all of it go? Tonight we solve one of the strangest facts about the human mind, and I promise you 2 things. First, the answer is not, you were too young to remember. And second, those memories were never really lost. They're steering you right now, today, in ways you'd never guess. But before any of that, let's destroy the myth you've been told your whole life. Everyone assumes babies simply have no memory. They're wrong, and researchers proved it with one beautifully simple experiment. They tied a ribbon from a baby's ankle to a colorful mobile hanging above the crib. The baby kicks, the mobile spins. Within minutes, every baby figures it out. Kick more spinning. Then the ribbon comes off and everyone goes home. Days later, sometimes a full week, the same baby comes back, sees that same mobile, and immediately starts kicking. Nothing is attached, but the baby remembers. At 6 months old. It goes further. Ask a 2-year-old about the zoo trip from last summer, and they'll tell you about the elephant. Ask a 3-year-old about their birthday, and the story comes out. The memories are right there. But wait a few years, and ask that same child again. The elephant is gone. The birthday is gone. So this isn't a brain that never recorded. This is something far more unsettling. A brain that recorded and then deleted. Which raises the only question that matters. Who is doing the deleting? The first suspect is the librarian. The one we met when we talked about déjà vu. Deep in your brain sits the hippocampus, the structure that takes a moment and files it as an episode. What happened, where, when, and in what order. It's the difference between knowing a fact and reliving a scene. But at birth, that library is a construction site. The shelves exist, the rooms exist. What doesn't exist yet is the catalog, the numbering system that lets you walk in years later and pull out one exact memory. So imagine a library where books keep arriving, get thrown onto the floor, and nobody writes down where anything is. Are the books there? Yes. Can you ever find one again? Never. That's a newborn's memory system, recording constantly, filing chaotically. The experience happens, the trace forms, but there's no address attached to it, so later, adult you knocks on the door and finds a room full of unsorted paper. Now, a library that's still being built is one problem. But in 2014, scientists uncovered something much stranger going on inside that library. Something was actively erasing the shelves. Here's the discovery. The baby brain doesn't just grow, it explodes. New brain cells are born by the thousands every single day, in exactly the region that stores memories. Scientists call it neurogenesis, and in infancy, it runs at a rate you will never experience again. Sounds wonderful, right? More cells, better brain. Except every new cell has to plug itself into the existing network, and to do that, it rewires the connections already there. The exact connections that were holding your memories. Researchers tested this directly. Slow neurogenesis down in young animals, and their early memories survive far longer than normal. Speed it up in adults, and old memories start fading away. The pattern is clear. Rapid new growth wipes old traces. So picture your infant brain as a city under construction. Every day, thousands of new roads are added. And every new road forces the old streets to be redrawn. The city gets bigger, stronger, more capable. But the map of how it used to look is gone forever. Your memories weren't lost by accident. They were paved over by your own growth. And believe it or not, there's a second thief. This one is stranger because it's something you learn to use. Language. Think about how you store any memory as an adult. You describe it, even silently, even in half a second. The day we moved. That summer at Grandma's. Words are the hooks your mind hangs experiences on. But a 1-year-old has no hooks. The experience arrives, light, sound, faces, warmth, and there's simply no way to package it. It gets stored as raw sensation with no label on the box. And here's the cruel part. The adult brain searches with words. You reach into memory using language, and it never finds boxes that have no words on them. Researchers found something remarkable in real families. Parents who talk richly with their toddlers. Tell me what we saw at the lake. What color was the boat? End up with children who remember their early years better and longer. The more words wrapped around an event, the stickier the memory becomes. So a child who was spoken with remembers more of their childhood. That alone should change how you talk to a small child. An unfinished library, a growing brain overwriting itself. No words to label anything. 3 good reasons, but the deepest one is still waiting, and it's not about memory at all. Back then, you hadn't been born yet. Here's the test that shows it. Scientists secretly put a small red mark on a baby's forehead, then sit them in front of a mirror. A young baby sees the mark and reaches for the mirror. They see a baby, just not themselves. But somewhere between 18 and 24 months, something extraordinary happens. The child looks in the mirror and reaches for their own forehead. In that instant, a new idea has appeared in a human mind. That's me. Now think about what memory actually is. Not just an event happened, but this happened to me. Every autobiographical memory needs an owner, a main character, a folder to be filed in. Before the mirror moment, that folder doesn't exist. The experiences are real, they're happening, but there's no me to store them under. And that explains the timing perfectly. Reliable childhood memories start appearing right around age 3 or 4, right after the self appears. Your memory of your life couldn't begin until there was a you to have a life. Which finally brings us to the promise from the beginning. Because if those years are erased, how can they still be shaping you today? Here's the twist that changes everything. There are 2 completely different kinds of memory. The one we've been talking about, episodes, scenes, stories, is called explicit memory. That's the one your first years lost. But underneath it runs another system entirely, implicit memory, skills, habits, emotional reactions, things your body knows without any scene attached. And implicit memory was recording from day 1. You cannot remember learning to walk, but you walk. You cannot remember a single lesson in your native language, yet its rhythm is buried so deep you hear it in your dreams. You cannot remember being comforted at 3 in the morning, but the sense that people can be trusted, that the world is reasonably safe, that was installed in exactly those years. Psychologists find that how a child is cared for in the first years shapes how they handle closeness and stress decades later. Not through stories they remember, through wiring they don't. So no, the missing years didn't vanish. They stopped being memories and became you. Which leads to one last thought, and this is the one I actually wanted to tell you. You lived 3 whole years that you will never see. But someone else was there. Someone woke up in the dark when you cried for the 100th night. Someone learned which way you liked to be held. Someone celebrated your first word, the word you'll never remember saying, and told the story to everyone they knew. Your beginning exists, it's just not stored in you, it's stored in them. That's why the photos in your family's house matter so much, and why the same stories get retold at every gathering. Those stories aren't just nostalgia, they're the only copy of the missing chapter. So here's what I'd ask you to do this week, and it takes 5 minutes. Go to whoever raised you, a parent, a grandparent, an older sibling, and ask them for one story from the years you can't reach. Just one. Then listen. You'll be hearing your own life for the first time. And drop it in the comments too. I want to read what you find out about the version of you that you never met. Stay curious. See you in the next one.